Coming up on the news feed.
Virginia Tech releases plans for spring semester. What do students think? Find out coming up.
All college sports have been disrupted due to COVID-19. Coming up, find out which athletes gain an extra year of eligibility.
A popular Virginia restaurant faces financial trouble. Find out what they did coming up. The news feed starts now.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. I'm Cole Ledke.
And I'm Heather Trowbridge. There are big changes up ahead for the spring 2021 academic calendar. Newsfeed reporter Jaqui Beasley has the story.
Virginia Tech rolls out the new spring calendar with a few changes that are hard to miss. During move-in week, which will take place from January 19th to January 22nd, classes will be held completely online.
By kind of setting the stage now in October, you're giving faculty the opportunity to plan accordingly for their classes. If you recall, faculty jumped on, had to pivot very quickly in the spring for a second half of a term to move their coursework online. Then they had the summer to work on it. And so I think many of them have gotten better at this sort of hybrid online kind of modality.
Many students feel that sitting long hours in front of a laptop is both tiring and counterproductive. With that in mind, accompanied by data that shows a decline in the spread of COVID, Virginia Tech has opened up more in-person class options.
I think it's important that a lot of us get back into the classroom because some of us have classes where their hands-on learning is important.
Spring break has also been altered, leaving several students distraught.
We want to be with our family and friends. We want to go home. It's hard, it's challenging, but Virginia Tech is committed to doing all that it can based on the circumstances.
For Virginia Tech students, course request opens Tuesday, October 27th.
As the fall semester continues, Virginia Tech begins to make plans for the upcoming 2021 spring semester. Newsfeed reporter Renata Pena has the story.
Virginia Tech most recently announced its plans to modify its traditional one-week-long spring break in order to hopefully reduce travel that might increase the chances of the spread of COVID-19 from one area to another. The new plan is to implement one-day breaks throughout the semester, totaling to 5 days in which there will be no assessments, classes will not be held, and assignments will not be due in order to make up for spring break. Many students do not feel as if these breaks will be enough. Virginia Tech junior John Frazier explains why he began a petition to reinstate the traditional one-week-long spring break.
I'm on both sides of the coin here because I understand where they're coming from because, with traveling, it can definitely be a big health issue, especially for bringing stuff back to campus. So I understand where they're coming from there. But I also think that from a mental health standpoint, this is not the way that we need to be going.
Students in the past have traditionally used this week to travel, go on family vacations, or just spend their week resting at home with loved ones. Virginia Tech senior Ben Cooper tells us that he feels he will get no rest with these new modifications.
You could have a break on a Tuesday and still have a test, exam, project Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I think it's almost useless.
Many students feel as if this week is important for their mental health.
I think that week to just de-stress and take a break from work is a big thing. And I know it's a big thing for a lot of students as well.
Students hope to have their voices heard, but for now we'll continue to plan for the new one-day breaks that will be happening this spring. Reporting for the Newsfeed, I'm Renata Pena.
Center Street is looking a little empty these days. Center Street, once the epicenter of Virginia Tech football game day, has been reduced to empty streets due to the combination of COVID-19 and Blacksburg policing efforts. Center Street's famously large crowds would be a perfect birthing place for new COVID-19 cases. This is why on home game days, any cars attempting to enter Center Street are now stopped by Blacksburg police to ensure that only residents are entering. While these measures are put in place to maintain crowd control, Blacksburg police efforts can act as a burden to the residents of Center Street.
Normally they can come and park, but now they can't. So I had one of my friend, we had I think it was a night game. I think it was our first game, we had a night game, whatever. And he was trying to come over early to watch. We were going to watch a different game and he couldn't get in. I guess they stopped him and were asking him.
Blacksburg police have also expanded their policing of Center Street to non-game days, increasing their patrolling of the area to look for large crowds or parties. Students who are found violating social distancing or gathering limits will be ticketed and referred to Virginia Tech Student Conduct. The newsfeed reached out to Blacksburg Police Department for a comment about their crowd control efforts on Center Street, but we did not receive a response.
The NCAA grants winter student athletes an extra year of eligibility. The NCAA Division I Council voted to approve an extra year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Even though many teams are playing games in some capacity, the season is certainly not a normal one. As such, the council wanted to give student athletes a chance to return for an extra year, hoping that the year will be more normal. While the decision is a positive one, it creates some practical questions for Virginia Tech's athletic department. For example, Virginia Tech basketball coaches now have to explain to incoming recruits whether there will be space for them to play early in their careers.
Obviously, guys want to go to schools where they know they have seniors leaving, so there's a hole, so they can play early, because playing time is almost everything. So it definitely is part of the discussion.
Overall, Virginia Tech is happy to be able to offer their current players an extra year. The focus right now is less on the future, though, and more on getting ready for the season. Even though almost nothing is certain these days, the Hokies are aiming to put distractions aside as they move towards a November 25th start date for their basketball season.
Virginia Tech athletes have created a new way to share their stories off the field with a new student-led media group. Newsfeed reporter Liam Sment has more.
A new student-athlete-led media group called Uncut Blacksburg started a video series called A Road Back this month. This new video series allows previously or currently injured players to talk about their experience battling through these obstacles physically and mentally. However, the group does not want to focus on injuries exclusively, as they look to explore athletes' backstories, social justice issues, and the untold tales of being a student-athlete here at Virginia Tech.
We also want to just highlight we want to highlight anything behind what you see on the field. So, like I said, it's injuries, social movements, just backgrounds. Like Quincy Patterson wants to write a story for us in the off season.
Emily Gray is a co-founder of Uncut Blacksburg alongside Virginia Tech senior Evan McNally. During her return to play after a year-long recovery from an ACL tear, she wanted to create a platform for athletes like herself to tell their stories. Jonathan Kabanga shares a similar sentiment to these two as well. After being permanently medically disqualified from the Hokies men's basketball team last year, he turned to Uncut to share his journey.
I think it's therapeutic in a way. I think it's definitely something it's beyond myself as well. Something that impacts other people. Other people are going through the same thing, whether it's an injury, from a sport or just an injury from life. Everyone has to move forward, let go, and overcome. So.
To learn more about these student athletes, you can follow along at uncutblacksburg.com or on Twitter, YouTube, or Instagram. Reporting for the newsfeed, this is Liam Smith.
With the flu season coming up on us, it's important to know what you can do to stay safe and healthy. With the coming of colder weather comes another flu season. This year, however, comes the added concern of COVID-19. This year's influenza vaccine is available now, and health officials are urging everyone to receive one as soon as possible. Due to the mandated COVID guidelines, medical professionals are hoping that there will be a lower number of flu cases. To better understand the impact that can have, we asked Schiffer Health Center nurse Monica Goyenko for some insight on the subject.
You'll hear public health officials really pushing for flu shot, and that everyone get theirs, and so that doesn't just prevent the circulation of flu, which is great, but in the end terms, it means that less people with severe flu, less people that have the flu. That means less people going to hospitals and requiring hospitalization for flu illness.
Schiffer Health Center is providing flu shots. Virginia Tech students only need to make an appointment. Other options are your local pharmacies or doctor's office. And as always, please remember to wear a mask and practice social distancing.
The Virginia Tech Police caution students about keeping healthy during Halloween. Virginia Tech Police advise students to stay safe during this Halloween weekend. Halloween is right around the corner, and due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Virginia Tech Police are suggesting students to celebrate the holiday while following COVID-19 safety regulations in order to stay healthy and protect others. Virginia Tech Police recommend that students avoid events with more than 15 people. They also recommend that students should keep their distance from others, wash their hands frequently, and participate in COVID-friendly Halloween events.
This year, I think what we're going to have to focus on more is making sure that, we're not letting our guard down in regards to the coronavirus and how that's impacting our community. So it's the importance of continuing to follow the mitigation strategies that have been put in place.
If students plan on going out, they should still remember to wear bright colors in order to be seen by passing vehicles and to always travel in pairs.
The 2020 presidential election is a week away, and voters are eager to get out to the polls and vote. But the election process might look slightly different due to the impact of COVID-19. With the anticipation building up to the presidential election, combined with the coronavirus outbreak, many Americans are concerned about the long lines and crowded rooms that accompany Election Day. Absentee voting became more accessible due to the masses due to COVID-19. Voters were able to request a mail-in absentee ballot or vote early, in person without needing an excuse. Early in-person voting is available until October 31st. To reduce physical contact, there are spots on the floor that are spaced 6 feet apart for people to stand on, along with distance voting booths. Curtis Cox, volunteer poll worker, discusses the in-person voting process given the circumstances of COVID-19.
Obviously, because of the COVID-19, there were concerns about the possibility of infection or transmission, and they have been able to avoid the lines and the wait. I don't think anyone's had to wait any more than 5 or 10 minutes. We've had a very good flow and a nice turnout, and the people have been happy to do that. We've been able to vote a lot of people curbside, so they don't even have to get out of their cars.
The polls are open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on November 3rd at designated voting locations. For more information about locations and time regarding voting, visit elections.virginia.gov. The increase in voting options this year is an effort to help voters feel safe while exercising their civic duty. Just ahead on the news feed, a Southwest Virginia staple faces trouble. Details coming up.
And if you've been missing live music, we've got good news coming up. That story and more next.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now I'm anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things,
but they're all pure love.
Welcome back to the newsfeed. I'm Heather Trowbridge.
And I'm Cole Ledke.
Walking around on Virginia Tech's campus, you may hear the sound of music. Music majors are some of the many students that have had their education altered thanks to the pandemic. Many students are forced to practice outside on campus, especially if they are practicing in groups, as it's easier to social distance. Practice rooms inside Squire Student Center are also limited, mainly to instruments like piano and large percussion. The core of the curriculum relies on recitals and continuation exams, which are still happening in person. Junior flute major Billy Kangas recently had his continuation exam and described his experience.
I went to my continuation exam in Squires 243, I believe it is, whatever the big ensemble room is. I didn't have to wear a mask. I think everybody else was wearing masks from what I remember, but I stood pretty far away from them, but they didn't have me wear a mask because that would inhibit my ability to play flute for them.
Student recitals, which are usually a public event, are being live streamed this semester. For more information, please visit the School of Performing Arts page at performingarts.vt.edu.
With the start of COVID came the end of live music shows for a long period of time. Now, as the world is learning to live with the effects of the pandemic and becoming slightly more normal again, small live shows are popping up everywhere, and music lovers are ecstatic. But how are musicians able to do this safely? Venues have come up with creative ways to entertain customers and give musicians an opportunity to perform live again, but on a much smaller scale than this concert from 2019. One way is to have a show at a restaurant, with an area for a band set up at least 6 feet away from any customers, and having tables spaced out from other tables as well. This way, customers can enjoy food and drinks from the comfort of their own table. Another creative way that the Roanoke Go Fest came up with was to have party pods, set up for small groups of people. Caroline Loveland, a Go Fest attendee, was pleasantly surprised with the COVID precautions taken by the festival.
Then they took us individually to our pods, which were basically these sectioned off areas that you were kind of stuck to hanging out in. They were really cool. They had Christmas lights all over them, so it felt nice and groovy still, but you had space to dance, honestly, without being pressed up against people. So I felt safe. I still had a good time. It was a lot of fun.
Other ways of staying healthy at live shows are to just keep to yourself or your group spread out from others, and to make sure you are at least 6 feet away from performers, who will most likely not be wearing masks. For anyone who is looking for live music shows to attend, be sure to stay socially distanced as possible, find creative ways to keep yourself safe, and have a good time.
One local animal shelter has transitioned operations to fit COVID-19 guidelines with relative ease, thanks to staff creativity and community support. Newsfeed reporter Jessica Mardian has the story.
The pandemic has not stopped those at the Montgomery Animal Care and Adoption Center from helping animals in need. They operate with limited volunteers, appointment-only visits, and all animal areas closed to the public. COVID-19 has prevented the center from recruiting and training new volunteers. Lori Sherritt, Volunteer and Education Coordinator, speaks of the ways they are looking to train volunteers in a COVID-19 world.
It might look like a Zoom meeting or a video training or something like that, but we're trying to do everything safely.
While monetary donations have decreased since the start of the pandemic, gift in kind donations such as dog toys, cat food, and blankets have risen. This goes to show that a love for animals continuously brings out the best in people, even in the most difficult of times.
Meeting rooms and other interior spaces at the center have been repurposed with playpens and cages for cat meet and greets. Outdoor areas are used for dogs to find their potential forever homes. Eileen Mahan, director of the center, shares an unexpected bright spot in adoptions thanks to the pandemic.
We had dogs that were in the back and they don't show very well in their kennels, and doing things by appointment and not allowing people into the back to see them where they have those bad behaviors, jumping up on the kennel and barking, and having them meet them here in a neutral setting. People really get to see the best of what that dog can be.
Reporting for the Newsfeed, I'm Jessica Mardian.
A dining icon in Catawba closes indefinitely until at least 2021. On October 12, 2020, the Home Place restaurant posted on Facebook that they would be closing on October 18th. Harold Wingate opened the family-style restaurant in 1982 in an early 20th century farmhouse. Now his son, Kevin Wingate, has taken over the business. The restaurant opened for indoor dining September 24th with 50% capacity. It is not clear when the restaurant will reopen, but their Facebook post says, "We pray for better days and hope 2021 will share for all." The post received over 900 comments and 3.4 thousand shares. So many people are saddened to hear the news. A customer, David McCann, shares his thoughts on the closing.
Sad to see it closed, but I'm hopeful and optimistic that once things settle down, we'll be able to go back to some sense of eating at the normal Home Place.
The Home Place is a go-to for birthdays, anniversaries, and special occasions because of the unique atmosphere, great staff, and delicious food. Unfortunately, efforts to reopen inside dining with social distancing measures was not bringing in enough business. Hopefully we can enjoy a meal with them in 2021.
Therese T. Gregoire, better known as Chef T from the show Hell's Kitchen, is bringing her passion to the NRV by putting a spin on contemporary American food. Chef T is the acting chef consultant at the Black Hen right in the heart of downtown Blacksburg. The restaurant is known for fine foods, charm, and its unique rotating menu. She finds inspiration for these creations through her travels, supporting local restaurants and small businesses across the country on her way. From starting off in her grandmother's kitchen to becoming the runner-up on season 14 of Hell's Kitchen, Chef T accredits her diligence, skill, and drive to arriving where she is now, showing everyone that you can take a dream and turn it into something real with the right work ethic.
It broke down the barriers of being a young, Black, talented female chef in this industry. It allowed me to walk through doors with just the mention of my name that would not have been accessible to me at that point in time. So it allowed me to advance at a much faster rate.
That talent has given her the opportunity to bring innovative ideas to the table on Jackson Street. Even during the pandemic, Chef T has made sure the Black Hen continues to source produce and meats from local farmers to serve peak food to their customers while adding different twists to the meals. Chef T will continue adding her signature flair to the Black Hen's menu. That's all for us today. If you have a story idea for the Newsfeed, let us know. Send us an email at thenewsfeednrv@gmail.com, and you can connect with us on Facebook and Twitter.
Thanks for watching the Newsfeed. I'm Cole Ledke.
And I'm Heather Trowbridge.